Joey, how are you?
Hey, good. How are you?
Good. Okay, so I had the forms that you've filled out, and let me pull that up really quick. All right, so since last appointment was partial treatment for going to follow, it's still need to get the corn and calcium artery score. No problem. Whenever you get that, that'd be it's just to get baseline. Just so you know, like the biggest issue with that is just because you've had this high blood pressure pattern that can destroy your vascular endothelium. You just want to get a baseline. First test you get, it'll just be your baseline and see where things are. Just want to make sure that's okay. It's not like it's going to change any treatment protocols, but it'd be great to get that when you can. If you're coming back to Encinitas, I can organize it for you. You're coming back anytime this summer, or?
Probably. I was just gonna maybe go to my regular doctor too and just see if they wanted to order it while I'm in Vegas.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, just do that. Yep. And a lot of these are radiology centers. You could. Oh, actually, in Las Vegas, you do need to get us.
Yeah, it was so annoying.
Yeah, California, you don't. Yeah, every state's a little different. Okay. Um, what are your concerns? Same as before, except brain fog around 11 a.m. All right. Now, what do you hope to accomplish? So, evaluate treatment, discuss ketosis, decide if it's worth continuing. So let's definitely do that. I read this earlier. I just want to double check with these. Seems like potassium supplement energy levels and decreasing cramps. Okay, so let's talk about this. So the big picture, let me just review the big picture. The big picture is we're seeing if there's a brain gut axis issue of like getting it's making any changes in your overall brain function, especially going limbic, and your brain endurance levels start to have any changes in your gut. And then you were doing ketosis. And last time we talked ketosis, they had some issues with like the fats and digesting fats. Maybe take some lipase. You experimented with some ketone salts that seemed to make some impact in how you're doing. And then we added some nitric oxide support and some potassium to see if we can get your blood pressure down. And you've been monitoring your blood pressure levels.
Mhm.
And then just to look at the timeline of everything. So 429, so like almost a month ago. Brain fog has increased a bit. I think some outdoor allergies. The allergies have been varying, draining, you've been fatigued, sluggish. And both you and Madison have noticed that revved up allergens taking
Yeah.
place. How much do you guys love Las Vegas?
I mean, we definitely would consider moving, but there's other factors, I guess. I guess just I don't know. I mean, I've gone to other places and had allergies too, so I don't really know. I seem to react to everything.
Right. Okay. Um, did you notice any difference changing the air quality in your home?
No,
Not at all. That's
no.
so interesting because most people notice a huge difference when they do that. Or you
Well,
leave.
we actually had a test, before we added all the filters and everything, and the test said it was fine before we even did the changes too. I mean, the big one was we got rid of the husky, so I don't know.
Hmm. What kind of testing did you just do that assume everything was?
That particulate matter thing
Oh
that
yeah,
you
that's just for looking for really higher numbers. Yeah.
okay.
Okay. The biggest one is dust. Like those kind of filtering systems get rid of dust and clean that up. Those dust particles may not show up at the particle matter.
Right.
Okay. All right. So now you're taking. So then you started magnesium, 1,000 milligrams. So you found the tolerance of magnesium, and then you.
Well, so I was wondering, I'm actually not like 600 milligrams now, and I don't know if either of them caused any digestive issues. I thought that it was, so then I was experimenting going down. But then I don't know if the lipase was actually causing me issues too, because I got up to like 4 or 5 pills and I didn't notice any difference except I had diarrhea a couple times. And that was really weird. So
Yeah, I mean, it's just going to cause a watery bowel movement. Once you get magnesium saturation, then you back off.
yeah,
Goal is to try to get as much magnesium as we can in your system, since it has an impact on blood pressure dynamics. So
but
if you
yeah, I got up to 1,000 and I would have like a normal bowel movement, and then I had diarrhea too at the same time, and like the next day it was all normal. So I don't know what to do. I
I mean,
mean,
you get some adaptation to magnesium. You can continue whatever dose you're on now. As you said, 600.
yeah,
I mean, you were up to 1,000 a month ago,
yeah.
and you were having some changes in your bowel movement. Some days,
Yeah.
not every day.
Well, I mean, I still have had them recently too, so I don't know. I don't know what's causing that.
Well, I would experiment with magnesium.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
get that up. And then also because we look at your blood pressure. I mean, your blood pressure readings. This is your weekly ones, right?
Those are daily.
Those are daily ones.
Yeah, I just didn't have the nighttime ones for those ones.
Okay. Yeah,
So
put a date on them. That would be really helpful.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I mean,
Okay, so here we're seeing like you still have some systolic. Systolic is the blood is when your heart contracts and the pressure hits your arteries, like that contraction then hits the arteries. That's systolic. And then the diastolic, the second number is when your heart relaxes. That's the pressure in the arteries. Systolic is the one that can, systolic is one that's really impacting your blood vessels. You keep impacting those blood vessels, then you get injury to the layer of the blood vessels. So you do have hypertension for like 140 and then diastolic 93. So those are still there. And this is before we did the nitric oxide, right? And
oh, I was doing the nitric oxide. Well, I was doing the like liquid dosage then. I started that right away. But I just started the potassium much more recently. And I do think that it's too early, but once I got up to like 2,000, I'm at 3,000 milligrams now. And it seems like it might be helping a little bit.
yeah,
So I'm good.
when you look at your numbers, it looks like it's helping here. So still ketosis, brain fog is okay. Magnesium got loose stills around 1,000. So testing by 8 or 9 milligrams now. Lipase 2 to 3 meals per day. Okay, 120. And then now here, like this is what we want to see.
Yeah.
These numbers here. And then here, just about 2 weeks ago, starting to wonder if some of the benefits of ketosis are wearing off because I've been having brain fog and brain fatigue quite often. We can talk about that in a second in detail, especially in the morning around 11 a.m. when I haven't even really used my brain. I wake up around 9:30 a.m., breakfast 10 a.m., don't start work till 11. Limbic episodes are still less frequent. Allergies have decreased, been taking Histox for 1 month. Magnesium. So now you add the potassium here. 1,000 milligrams. And I know like you were concerned about, is this the right dose? Because the magnesium supplements are like 99 milligrams.
Yeah.
I did that because years ago, there were some people that had kidney disease that took magnesium and they had problems with it. And then they made a restriction for magnesium supplements to be 99 milligrams. So everyone made magnesium supplements 99 milligrams, but taking 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 5,000 milligrams of potassium a day is okay.
Yeah.
It's just now you have to like take all these supplements unless you get powder. But
I found one that was 500 milligrams per pill. So
that's good. So if you find 500 milligrams, that's the one to use.
yeah.
Okay, so if you're at 1,000 milligrams, so I mean, here you're starting to be, you're no longer your blood pressure is changing. If you look at the patterns from here without the potassium,
right?
It seems like to me, I don't know. Just looking at
I think so too, especially once I got up to the 2,000 the last few days, it seems like it's been lower.
Yeah. So now you're up to last week, 2,500 milligrams of potassium. But then again, wait, here we go. They're up.
I know.
That still looks better though.
Yeah.
Now there's a couple of things. You said the magnesium, the potassium also helps your muscle cramps and how you're feeling. So tell me.
I think so. I seem to have a little bit more just like physical energy and less cramping because I was cramping pretty bad earlier on in the treatment, like when I would go to the gym and work out, and it seems less for sure.
Okay. Well, you can keep going up with the potassium.
Yeah, I'm at 3,000 now. Should I keep going or just kind of?
You can go up more. You can come to 4,000. You can, it's like. And especially if you find a 500 milligram capsule, it's not too hard.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about blood pressure for a couple things. Now,
so that blood pressure should be high from the deficiency in potassium.
It's possible, but it's more likely like potassium, magnesium just help activate the vasodilating lower blood pressure mechanisms.
Right.
It doesn't necessarily have to be a full blown deficiency. I think a lot of your blood pressure medications is neurogenic hypertension because of the injury. So we're just trying to compensate with what we can, because once you start getting into diuretics, beta blockers, ACE inhibitors, they have a lot of side effects on their own. They deplete nutrients, they cause a lot of problems. And, we definitely don't want to have you go throughout your life, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years with injury happening to your vascular endothelium. That's crazy. So we want to see if we can make some change. Now, one of the things we have to start looking for? So taking a step back, I mean, when you look at your history and look at all the things you had with your workup and all the things you've done with your diet, and we can talk about ketosis in a second, but try to really control your GI symptoms, right? Your main GI symptoms being bloating, distension, heartburn, right? Those are the main ones.
Yeah,
Have any of those changed at all?
I don't think so.
Okay.
The only thing that's changed has been my stools have gone just all over the place, but my other symptoms are basically the same as they've always been.
Okay. So we look at the form you filled out here. We can see like the updated metabolic assessment form. You do have lots of GI symptoms here: frequent bloating and distension. Those are all the same. That's the belching, burping, sense of fullness during and after meals, stomach pain, burning 1 or 2 hours after eating. Do you actually get stomach pain?
Yeah, I mean, like discomfort. I don't know if I necessarily call it pain. Sometimes it's pain, though, for sure. It's almost always some level of discomfort, like all day long.
Okay. And then you do the H. pylori test, which came back negative. Okay, so I mean, the initial strategy was, with your history of having done so many gastrointestinal protocols and supplements, was maybe just start to look at this from a brain gut axis mechanism and see if that can make a difference. But the goal was to first see if we resolve your brain related fatigue, energy issues, limbic patterns, then we'd see a change in your gut. These are your frontal lobe symptoms. This is the area that we're concerned about: difficult planning, organizing, making decisions. These are all frontal lobe. 3 means symptoms 75% of the time. Issues with, and then the issues with brain fatigue and endurance, and like when your brain gets really tired and so forth. So then, let me just go back here. We look at your protocol, the different phases, and we're trying to just the first goal is get you in ketosis, see if that, and get your energy levels improved, see if you get a limbic pattern in the evening. Let's talk about that for a second. So there's one part of your case which is related to endurance, your brain endurance symptoms, and then becoming, limbic, when you just can't handle any more stimulus and your brain exhausts and fatigues. And you said, in the past, when you first went on ketosis, you felt like it made a big difference for you with some of the feedback you gave me with emails and stuff. And now you feel like the allergen, maybe the airborne triggers, maybe making that worse. Fill me in.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. The same thing happened the other time I did ketosis at first. Well, the first few days, I felt pretty crappy. And then after that, I kind of seemed like I had more energy and was clearer with my thinking and everything. And this time it happened too. But then allergies also coincidentally got really bad. So I just assumed that's what was going on. But the allergies have decreased now, I think. And I get brain fog like every day, and definitely brain fatigue. And my brain just seems tired. My body seems fine.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if, it's ketosis or allergies or what.
Well, remember, you've had so many football injury, traumatic brain injuries to your brain that we have some degree of glial priming. So anything that creates your inflammatory response is going to turn on those glial cells. That'll cause the brain fog, right? So there's brain fog that can be triggered by environmental triggers, and then there's just brain endurance issues that can just fatigue your brain and then make you go limbic. The going limbic and just being tired and you can't handle any more stimulus is really more of an endurance issue, which is maybe it's different than just feeling brain fog, which is something's driving those glial cells to get activated. Okay.
The limbic part seems to have improved right when I went into ketosis. I remember I didn't get the nighttime angry ability as much.
Okay. So clinically, just communicating with each other now and then moving forward, we've got to look at your brain from an endurance perspective. And we got to look at your brain from things that are activating brain fog, which is basically neuroinflammation. Right. So the purpose of ketosis is really there to, give you a more efficient fuel source to your brain. Mitochondria we use ketones much easier than glucose. And it does have some anti-inflammatory effects, but it's not going to necessarily resolve something that's triggering the glial cells outside of everything. Right. So, let's talk about one of the things that was a concern for you, which is, is this ketogenic diet worth it? Do you still want to stay in ketosis? So let's talk about that. It's really up to you. But the ketogenic diet is not going to get rid of any ongoing glial brain fog symptoms. The goal of it is really just to treat your endurance issues. So if you want to experiment going out of ketosis and seeing how you do, you want to just see, do you notice a difference, fatiguing and, your brain getting limbic at a certain time. Now, same as before. So some more brain fog around 11. So we don't want to confuse brain fog with symptoms of brain endurance.
Right.
Because they're totally different mechanisms.
Yeah, that's definitely brain fog at 11.
Okay. So let's talk about your brain endurance first, then we'll go back into brain fog. Okay.
Okay.
So your brain endurance, first of all, do you notice a relationship between the times your brain endurance is off and your blood pressure being higher?
I've tested, wait, brain endurance. I think I've tested it like when I have been limbic and I didn't notice much of a difference.
Okay. So um, when you check your blood pressure, if you can start putting the date on it, because the journal is really the only way we can see if protocols are working or not working. And, we don't want to, we want to try to be as specific as possible. Put a date on it and just on a scale of 1 to 10, tell me like your brain endurance, 10 being like major, really good energy. 10's like perfect energy. Okay. Like 100% energy. Because, one of the things that happens is that just like from the neurology of things, your frontal lobe, your brain activates a pathway that inhibits the sympathetic centers of the spinal cord. Okay. And a lot of times when we see brain injuries, we'll see blood pressure really high. When you look at studies done on traumatic brain injury individuals, right after the acute stages, their blood pressure is uncontrollable, really, really high. So there's a pathway, it's pontomedular reticulospinal descending inhibition pathway that dampens the center and your spinal cord called the intermediate lateral cell column. So there's pathways known. So you want to see, is there any relationships with that? Ultimately, it's kind of like, you've done all the protocols for the gut that are out there. That's not the problem. Like we can't just give you another new protocol with different probiotic or something. And your blood pressure is off, but you have these very clear symptoms of brain fatigue, brain glial cells, brain fog issues that are persisting. So we're just hoping to treat that and see if that improves and see if the other things change. So I think we're still in the same direction. That makes sense to you.
Yeah.
Yeah. You okay with that?
Yeah.
That approach. So at the end of the day, you want to have a healthy brain, no matter what. We want to optimize your brain, make it as healthy as possible. So phase 1 was really to kind of get you in ketosis and trying to look at strategies for neuroinflammation, resveratrol, turmeric, glutathione. We'd have to take the liquid ones. And then, okay, so let's talk about ketosis. So do you want to stay ketosis? You want to give it a chance and see how you are out of it?
Yeah, maybe try it without and just see if there's any, and not do any other changes and see what happens to my brain.
Don't necessarily look for brain fog. Look for your endurance when you're fatiguing. Now, when are you fatiguing now? Is it still in the evening or is it less?
Throughout the whole day. It just, it's not constant. It's just, it can be any time of day. And that's what's frustrating. The same thing with the brain fog. It just seems to come out of nowhere for both of them.
Yeah. Well, brain inflammation can definitely uncouple like your mitochondria, make you more tired. So that's one issue. Maybe as long as your brain fog is there, you're going to be more susceptible to energy crashes.
Okay.
And probably days you don't have as much brain fog, you'll probably have better endurance. But,
okay.
There's separate things, but there's overlap between the two. So we just want to be looking at those mechanisms.
Right. So it doesn't, I don't know. I just don't feel like I'm getting that much of an improvement in my brain with the ketosis or with the stuff. Just overall. So I don't know.
Okay, then you don't have to do any of it. Try off and see how you do. Okay.
Yeah.
Now the key thing is you could just have such an aggressive driver to your glial cells, like nothing feels like it's working. And because some things is triggering inflammation way more than the other things that are there.
Right? Like allergies could do that.
What's that?
Could allergies do that?
Yeah, for sure. Any kind of antigen trigger can increase it, whether it's food or airborne. So if you look at your symptoms here, I'll show you. So these are all frontal lobe symptoms. They're pretty, they're significant. Yeah. There's 3s. You got lots of 3s. And then 2s, right? So that's the concern. And with the physical examination, there wasn't really any other areas of your brain that were significantly impacted. And the kind of work you do is all executive function. So they're just going, hey, why are you, normally when someone has an injury to an area of the brain, that heals, especially if they're activating that area. But in your case, it's like, man, they're not, you're activating the area. You might be going over your threshold of your endurance and fatiguing all day. And that could be a factor. I still think that could be an issue. So
that's what I've been experimenting with. And that's what I was saying. Like a lot of times I don't even start work until 11 a.m. And I have brain issues then. So it's weird. I haven't even really used any of the executive function at that point.
Yeah. You think what might be throwing a wrench into everything is you're getting these glial cell activation patterns.
Yeah.
Because when you look at your emails before the airborne allergens kicked up, because you and Madison had this exact timeline.
Right.
Hey, airborne allergens suck. I'm feeling it. And then right before that, you were noticing, hey, ketogenic diets make me feel better, have more energy, it's working this time. And then this new variable comes in at the same time, it's impacting both of you. It's the same variable, it's airborne allergen. So that's, can't ignore that timing.
Right.
Now you could definitely be a candidate for low dose antigen therapy because most of your stuff are allergies.
Yeah, I mean, I'm taking it. I've been taking it for 9 months.
You have been?
Yeah.
Which allergens have they found to be a problem for you?
All of them.
Every single one?
I don't think mold was on there, but basically everything else.
Do you think there's any correlation between when you started that treatment and some of your brain fog symptoms?
I don't think so. It's been a while though.
Think about it.
Maybe. I mean, should I just try? Because they say not to stop, right? But I guess I could just. It's not doing anything for me at this point.
I don't know. This is the thing. We got to find those relationships. Like any chronic complex case where there's layers and layers of stuff. It's really detective work on both of our parts, and we're trying to make some associations. Here's the bottom line: you got brain fog, which means you got brain inflammation.
Right.
It's wiping you out, and there's a timeline of that timing happening. So it's kind of like what's different? What's the ongoing trigger? At the end of the day, you can take things like resveratrol, turmeric, glutathione that are nutraceuticals, dampen inflammation. You could be in ketosis to the anti-inflammatory effect. But if the trigger is much greater than the ability to dampen inflammation, you're still going to have a lot of symptoms. You know what I mean?
Right.
One thing to do is you're like, yeah, you're hopeless, no chance. The other thing to do is no, let's find what could be the factor that's triggering it. So do you have brain fog every single day?
No.
Okay. So is there any difference on days you have it versus other days? Have you noticed anything? Is the air quality different?
I've been trying to experiment and with different supplements and pay attention to my sleep and that kind of stuff. And I haven't noticed anything yet.
Okay. What about air quality? Have you looked at air quality measurements in your area?
Yeah, definitely.
Is there any correlation between air quality measurements that day and your
brain fog? I don't think so.
Okay, let's do that. Let's look at that. It's paper. We got to find relationships so then we can figure out how to do something about it. Okay.
Right.
So do you have a source like an Henderson that has air quality for the day?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just
then
like
right. It rates the air quality each day.
Yeah.
Okay, so what we need to know is the relationships between air quality and brain fog. Okay. We also want you, when you email me, to date your blood pressure and then also give me a scale on a scale of 1 to 10, your energy levels, your brain endurance levels.
Okay.
We want to see if those relationships are there because we have the blood pressure thing, and then we have the brain thing, and then the whole gut thing's on the side there. Okay, and then what was the exact date you started the low dose antigen therapy?
It's been 9 months.
It's been 9 months. Okay, so you started before we started working together.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Has that gone more aggressive? Changed in any way?
No.
Do you think it's helped you in any way with your symptoms?
I don't think so.
Okay. We found a lot of different allergens that were triggers for you. There's none of those things in your surrounding home area, right? They're not in your backyard. Some of the trees and plants and everything we found.
No, I mean, yeah, they definitely are. I mean, they're everywhere. Because it's basically all grasses, weeds, trees.
On your property?
Yeah.
Do you keep your windows open at all, or is it always AC?
No, we've been keeping them closed since we did the air stuff.
Okay. What's your hunch, Toby? What could be triggering the brain inflammation?
I don't know.
So you said it's not sleep, it's not like a dietary food, it's not like drops in blood sugar. It doesn't seem to be anything from your lifestyle that's doing it, right?
No, I mean, probably allergies are the most likely just because I can't think of anything else. The only other thing would maybe there is a food sensitivity. I mean, that I just don't know about, but I don't know because yeah, I guess that could be 3 days after. So maybe it's a food sensitivity, but I don't know.
You want to do more thorough testing? Did an updated food sensitivity panel? You've had some in the past.
Yeah, I've done all the blood ones. Not any from like Cyrex or anything like that though before.
Right. Do you want to do any of those? Where do you want to go? I'm trying to think about possibilities. Your intuition is a big part of this. If you think there's some suspected foods that could be a factor, or if you think, no, I've already played this game too much, it just seems like wasted time.
Well, the only, thing maybe that's connected would just be the SIBO, and when I get bloated, could that cause some?
Yeah, absolutely. You notice a direct relationship between your bloating and your brain fog symptoms?
I haven't paid attention to it because I'm bloated often.
Right.
The SIBO symptoms are pretty significant.
Okay, now let's just fill me back in since our initial workup. You did do a FODMAP diet, right? Did that get rid of your brain fog symptoms?
I don't remember.
For me, if I would have heard that in your history, I wouldn't have not done that. I think you're taking supplements and doing things. So one other approach we can do is we could just support you as if you had full blown SIBO and see if that changes your brain fog. You want to go in that direction?
Maybe just try that again.
Right again, yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
Okay. So what I'll do is we'll put you on a FODMAP diet again instead of ketogenic. Okay. And then I'll put you. There's nutraceuticals we use when people have SIBO. There's a protocol where things that dampen intestinal inflammation. We're going to really support your gut that way. So I use something called Repairvite GL, which is there for like intestinal permeability, but Repairvite SC has none of the things that impact SIBO. There's some fibers and nutrients and some botanicals that flare up SIBO. So this is like a leaky gut support that doesn't activate SIBO. Then there's a micronutrient powder we use called Clearvite GL, which is supports like phase 1, phase 2 liver detox, but it also is anti-inflammatory, but has no grains in there at all. It's designed for SIBO. And then enzymes, and then short chain fatty acids, and then some probiotic strains that have not been shown to bother SIBO while you do the FODMAP diet. Maybe we can try that. You still want to stay on the magnesium. You still want to stay on the potassium. We still want to look at your blood pressure.
Okay.
We just got to get rid of your brain fog trigger. Anything else?
How long should I do the FODMAP in before?
You should do it for a good month.
Okay.
If you're not getting any symptom change after a month, it's not that.
And the main,
and also, I would say ultimately too. You could be in a vicious cycle. Ultimately, I would say even if you had FODMAP issue where your gut's just not functioning right, it's still going to be more likely brain gut mechanism. There's only so many things that impact smooth muscles of the gut. We still have to make sure you don't get limbic, your brain endurance improves, your frontal lobe symptoms go away, you don't work past your metabolic rate, you take lots of breaks, you get that. You got to still get your brain rehabilitated and recovered, and those limbic patterns are your biggest clue that you're exceeding your brain's metabolic rate and not doing that. So the FODMAP just could be a potential way to maybe reduce some of that brain fog, So yeah, your brain's functioning better, help you with recovery because it could be triggering the inflammatory response. But again, it could just be the allergens kicking up, making everything worse. Have you ever tried more aggressive antihistamine medication or things like that?
No.
Okay, that's another diff dye we need to consider. One is we may not do these both at the same time, Toby, because that could make it clear. So one possibility is like these truly are airborne allergens, and these airborne allergens are really what's triggering your brain fog. Okay.
Right.
Now you're taking some like nutraceuticals like quercetin and Histo-X, which are botanicals. For some people, they work fantastic, and it's 100% reduction of symptoms. For other people, it's just not enough. Okay. So when you get into the whole world of antihistamines, so there's antihistamines that are over the counter that you can get, and then there's antihistamines you can get, stronger forms from your physician. So, have you ever tried over-the-counter antihistamines?
I've taken them off and on, but never recently.
Okay, so one possibility is, you find antihistamines at your local drugstore. Try to take them, see if you notice any symptoms in your brain fog with that. That might be the first thing we try.
Yeah, that makes sense. Just try that for like a week or something.
Yeah.
Which one do you recommend? Because I think that Benadryl, a lot of them make you sleepy, right?
Yeah, I mean, they work different mechanisms. Some work the epinephrine pathway. Some do not. There's two main classes. Like there's Benadryl, Claritin, right? You can experiment with different ones.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So those are the main two forms. Like I think Benadryl and Claritin, you get both of the main types of antihistamines that are out there. Because for some people, like it makes them brain loopy and brain foggy worse. See how they are. So that might be something you try for, let's say, a couple of weeks. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then that'll give some clues if blocking your histamine pathway more aggressively has a direct relation to your brain fog. If it is airborne allergens, we might expect to see that be a part of it, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then the second thing to go through would be just being really strict on SIBO. And maybe like the antihistamine thing takes away 30% of it, and SIBO takes away another 20% of it. Now they're happening half the time, and you still continue recovering your brain and doing, not exceeding your metabolic rate and all that stuff. So that'd be the way to go.
Okay.
When do you see your physician for your coronary artery scan?
I haven't scheduled it yet.
Okay, so schedule it, and then also schedule antihistamine discussion with them.
Okay, so should I do the prescription one or just the over-the-counter?
Well, I think you should have the option of both. If you're going to go in already for a coronary artery scan, just say you have allergens and you want something a little bit stronger than the over-the-counter.
Okay.
Because even if the over-the-counter doesn't work, you're going to need something stronger.
Yeah.
The over-the-counter works 20%, 30%. You need something stronger. If the over-the-counter is 100% effective, then you may not need it, but at least since you're going anyways, you should take advantage.
Okay. Yeah, that's good.
So definitely talk to your physician about over-the-counter stuff, the ones you're taking, and make sure that's okay and there's no problems with any of that stuff, right? But you've been on them before.
Yeah, I've been on some before.
Okay. Do you have any questions for me?
Well, the only other thing that we had talked about in the past was fasting. Mm-hmm. I don't know if maybe you could just keep it in the back burner, I guess.
Well, the point, anytime someone has a brain injury and prime glial cells, you want to try to get into a fasting state because you can promote autophagy and get rid of that.
Right.
But if you're like getting brain inflammation and brain fatigue and brain endurance issues, and then you do the fasting on top of it, I don't know. You can certainly try it. It's really up to you. And even if you do fasting to get rid of some autophagy, you still have something constantly triggering your glial cells that still has to be figured out. It wouldn't take away anything we're doing and change the direction of anything we're doing. It just would get in the way of getting clear signals of what's making a difference for you. Like if you go on antihistamine at the same time you're fasting, better or worse, we don't know which is doing which. But do you feel like you want to jump into a longer time fast, or what's where you're at?
No, I think that makes sense, and I agree. I would be a little nervous doing the fasting. I think the only lingering thing really is my gut symptoms, because those seem all over the place. Like it's very unpredictable. So it would be nice to do the FODMAP, I think, again and see what that does.
You want to, okay, so with that in mind, you want to just do the FODMAP protocol, or do you want to layer that on top of doing an updated food sensitivity panel? What do you think?
I don't know. I mean,
I think try the FODMAP first.
yeah, just try that. Okay.
Yeah. It's like when you look at these cases like yours that are layered and complex, it's just there is a lot of detective work. There's a lot of trial and error. We don't want to do too many variables at first, so we have a pretty good plan. The initial thought was like we could get your ketosis, get your brain endurance levels working, and if your brain endurance levels are going, then we see a change in your gut function. The problem is, and I think you made some big impact in the beginning with the brain endurance levels, but I think the environmental allergens or something is triggering your brain fog. So it's like getting in the way, sabotaging everything we're doing. So now we're taking a dive and going, is this more of an allergen? Is it blocking the histamine pathway make more of a sense, or is it really more of a, is it really, the FODMAP playing a role? Is it both? I don't know. Yeah. So we'll just check those two layers. Still give me our magnesium, play with the potassium a little bit higher, play with magnesium a little bit higher, get those blood pressures, see if there's any relation between your blood pressure and your brain fatigue. And then we go over there. So the summary of what I have, you tell me if we're on the same page, okay? The summary of what I have in my notes so far is, first of all, with the updated emails, you're going to put the dates on your blood pressure readings, and you're going to give me a scale of 1 to 10 on your brain endurance levels when you're taking the blood pressure. See if we can see any of those relationships. Mm-hmm. And then what we're going to do is you're going to keep your appointment with your physician. You're going to make an appointment with the physician, get the coronary artery calcium scan, talk about antihistamines, right? The first line of antihistamines will be the ones you maybe had taken before, making sure you're getting the different variations of the very basic, less aggressive over-the-counter ones before you go to the more aggressive ones, and then seeing how you respond to that. And then the next phase of that would be then to go into a full FODMAP diet. You can do the FODMAP diet, now as you're doing the antihistamines, but then taking the nutraceuticals, or actually, what would be best? Best for you to just stay on your diet. I know, like maybe you're bored with a ketogenic diet, or okay, to do this, get out of ketosis, establish no change in symptoms first.
That's what I was going to do. I already have it written down.
Okay. So get out of ketosis, establish like there's no different or new symptoms, then go through the antihistamine part, and then go through the FODMAP diet. Mm-hmm. And then we'll see what your body responds to from there.
Yep, that's perfect.
That's good. Okay. Yep. All right. So it sounds like we had a good plan. So with the emails, let me know how you do with where you are with the antihistamine approach and your diet and emails. You can just keep sending me those weekly updates. They really make a big difference, because you see how we're like monitoring your blood pressure and your symptoms, and like when you actually felt better in ketosis and when you didn't, and it makes a big difference to look for patterns. Like your case is all about little subtleties that they give clues. It's not about like, hey, you just needed this strain of probiotic. Magic. Right. Everyone missed it your whole entire life. But here it is. It's going to be like looking at these individual variables that all add up. Yeah. Ultimately, listen, these symptoms all have to go away.
Yeah. Okay.
And then same with your chronic bloating and digestion. If you do really have full blown SIBO, you may be on a FODMAP diet ongoing, and just see how that goes. Any other questions for me?
The only thing is I probably won't see you until August.
Perfect. That's enough time, because by the time you do the antihistamine things and get off your diet and reestablish, that'll be a month. Then you do the FODMAP diet for another month. Okay. We'll go from there.
Okay, perfect.
But just send me the updates.
I will.
Because we'll track them that way.
Okay.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Good talking to you.
Thanks so much. Take care.